So I think we can start. Yeah. So hello, everyone. I'm pleased that you are attending our session. My name is Eliska Prochazkova, and I'm a PhD student working at Leiden University at the Copan Lab. And today we will have members of Copan Lab who will talk about different topics surrounding perception of emotional expressions. They will talk about function of emotional expressions and evolutionary origins. Specifically, our group has been focusing on the question how emotional signals are perceived and transmitted from one person to another. And I will be the first speaker today, where I will give you a bit of a theoretical background to the study of emotional expressions. I will then tell you about our real-life dating experiment, where we tested how synchrony of emotional expressions shape people's feeling of attraction. After me, Eliana Samara will tell you more about this dating experiment, where she looked at people's ability to recognize expressions that are predictive of attraction. After Eliana, we will have Julia Foltz, who will go a bit deeper and look into how different types of expressions are interpreted and how passive observation influences observers' own physiology. Fabiola Diana will then explore emotional contagion in different contexts and will compare how face-to-face data compared to video calling, which is particularly relevant in today's times where events like these are happening and moving online. Finally, our lab leader, Dr. Mariska Kret, will go back to evolutionary roots of emotional expressions and will compare how humans process emotional expressions compared to apes. All right. So here's an interesting thing about emotional expressions. We can either share them voluntarily. For example, we smile at a colleague at work. However, sometimes emotions can slip out. For example, you can imagine your good friend standing on a stage on a conference. And as she speaks, suddenly you notice her face start to blush and voice began to tremble. And as this is happening, you begin to feel sweaty and feel very anxious too. And in our lab, we are particularly interested in this type of emotional transfer or contagion, as we believe it may play a crucial role in prosocial behavior, such as bonding, trust, and attraction. In the neurocognitive model of emotional contagion, we propose that mimicry might be one of the key mechanisms involved in emotional contagion. We make a distinction between two types of mimicries. Behavioral mimicry, which is a visible type of mimicry. For example, a mimicry of facial expressions, vocalization, or body postures, which can be partially controlled. Autonomic mimicry, on the other hand, is unconscious type of mimicry, which is difficult to regulate. An example of it is synchrony in heart rate, skin conductance, hormonal levels, and pupil diameter. To study mimicry on many levels of expressions, we used a variety of measures. We put people in an MRI scanner to look at their brain activity while they mimic emotional expressions. We also use electrodes to measure participants' physiology and muscle movements, and give participants eye tracking glasses to track their gaze and pupil diameter. And the main reason why we measure all these signals is because we want to understand the function of mimicry. Specifically, we predict that synchrony of facial or autonomic signals has a function in trust, attraction, and other prosocial behaviors. To test this hypothesis, we conducted an fMRI experiment. And in this fMRI experiment, we looked into underlying mechanisms of pupil mimicry. In this study, participants were playing a trust game with their partner, whose eyes they could see on the screen. And the eyes of the partner, their pupils would change. Either they would dilate, constrict, or stay static. And in each round, participants could decide how trustworthy their partner looks and how much money they want to invest in their partner. So we replicated previous studies by showing that participants synchronize their pupil sizes with their partner. But importantly, if synchrony occurred and participants synchronize with dilating pupils of their partner, they would trust their partner even more. In addition, during pupil mimicry, participants' social brain regions become robustly activated. And these social regions are part of the theory of mind network, which is also known to activate during verbal communication or when people are trying to understand other people's thoughts and intentions. And together, these data supported the hypothesis that mimicry of autonomic signals or cues, such as pupils, play a role in communication and prosocial behavior. However, this study also has its limitations. The first thing that may come to mind is that measuring prosocial behavior like trust in an MRI scanner is not a very natural setting. In real-life interaction, emotional expressions are dynamically exchanged between partners, whereas there is not only one type of a signal, but variety of emotional signals that are being sent forward and backwards between partners, shaping their social perception over time. And therefore, in order to truly understand what is the role of mimicry in trust, attraction, and bonding, we wanted to study emotional exchange in real-life settings and intense emotional situations. And one scenario that meets this criteria is a blind date. Let me therefore tell you about our next experiment, where we measured emotional expressions during real-life dating interactions. So we recruited 140 people who were single and were looking for a partner. And throughout the date, we tracked their physiology and behavior. Now, when you are on a date, you probably feel highly aroused, personally motivated to succeed, and basically you feel also a little bit vulnerable, which often comes with physiological correlates. Furthermore, you are probably wondering whether the partner likes you. And this is why the situation is very well suited to study emotional contagion and to test how people infer other people's thoughts. And therefore, we wanted to know how good are people predicting partners' romantic intentions, and does autonomic mimicry promote attraction? In order to study this, we built a special dating lab with 2 entrances and visual barrier in the middle. And this barrier was important to prevent participants from seeing each other before the date. Then female and male who never met before enter the cabin one by one. And the experiment had 3 parts. First came first impression, where the barrier opened shortly and then it closed, and participants then rated their partner on attraction. So there was kind of a baseline measure here. Then the barrier opens again, and now participants could talk for 2 minutes about whatever they wanted. Then the barrier closed, and they rated their partner again on the same scales. Finally, the barrier opened for 3rd time, and now participants only look at each other without words. And after this, they rate their partner again on attraction, and they also decide whether they want to go for another date with their partner and exchange their phone number. Now, the order of verbal and non-verbal condition was contrabalanced, and this setup really allowed us to see how attraction changes over time from first impression to the end of the date, while we were able to control for verbal and non-verbal signals that contribute to changes in attraction. So throughout the date, we measured several things. So we measured couples' physiology. We also gave them eye tracking glasses to track their gaze and facial expressions. And now let me show you how the data look like. So on top, we see video from the eye tracking glasses recording male and female interaction. In the first graph below, we see male and female's heart rate changing over time, and females are in red and men are in blue. In the second graph is male and female skin conductance levels. And below, the rectangles represent currently ongoing expressions like smiling, laughing, touching face. So yeah, this is how the data look like. So what it means, we had information about participants' expressions, their gaze fixation, and physiological measures. We then synchronize and pre-process these data with Physiological Toolbox, which is a great software that has been developed at Leiden University. And because we were interested in synchrony, we then use moving window cross-correlations, which is a method that detects synchrony, but also accounts for the lag in the dynamic signals. So what did we find? Well, in total, we collected data from 70 couples. And our first question was, are people good in predicting their partner wants to date them? Actually, it turns out people are not very good at it. When we asked them at the end, their accuracy was at a chance level. And this suggests that, contrary to common belief, people are actually not very good emotional statisticians. Next, we observed some intriguing behavioral patterns. For example, females were more expressive than male. They smile, nodded, touched their face more frequently than men did. Men, on the other hand, stare at a woman. They looked longer into female face, eyes, and on her body, while females had a tendency to look around. So in practice, date is kind of a dance where females move and males stared at them. In addition, during the date, females' heart rate and skin conductance responses were significantly higher than males. And they also reported to be more nervous than men. All right, so now you're probably wondering which of these signals will tell you if someone's attracted to you. So before we conducted our main analysis focusing on synchrony, in a control analysis, we used machine learning methods to predict attraction based on individuals' expressions. And interestingly, we found that none of the visible expressions, like frequency of facial expressions like laughing, smiling, or frequency of eye contact, predicted males or females' attraction scores. Even when we look under people's skin in their physiology, we saw that increase in heart rate or skin conductance was not predictive of how attracted participants were to their partner. And this shows that, similar to our participants, on individual level, we also could not predict attraction scores. But now, what if we zoom out from one individual and look at the couple as a whole? And this brings us to our main question: does synchrony promote attraction? To quantify the strength of synchrony, we use windowed cross-correlation. And we could see that some participants or couples synchronize more than others. And we then use these synchrony measures as a predictor of attraction in multi-level general linear model. And the result showed that the level of attraction was reflected in couples' physiological synchrony. The more couples synchronize their skin conductance and heart rate, more attracted they become to each other over the course of the day. And this supported our hypothesis that people are physiologically coupled to their partner, and that the strength of this coupling promotes attraction. Furthermore, we did not find this association in visible mimicry, like mimicry of smiles, laughs, or eye gaze synchrony. And this implicates that physiology synchrony potentially explain more than visible mimicry can capture. Now, in order to show you how physiological synchrony look like, I will show you a video of one couple. And I selected this couple because those two people first met without exchanging any words. And during this nonverbal interaction, their attraction dramatically increased. So let's observe how the attraction between the couple developed. So in the top row, we can see female and male heart rate, and below is their skin conductance levels. And below we can see different expressions like smile and laugh and so on. We will now see that female will smile. Here she smiles. The male smiles back, and on the top we see synchrony in their physiology, in their heart rate and skin conductance. Now they're trying to calm down, not smile. However, female starts smiling again, and we see male is smiling with her. And again, we saw increase in heart rate and skin conductance synchrony. Interestingly, now just the female smiles, the male haven't, yet we could still detect synchrony in heart rate. So interestingly, what we then looked at is that there was actually not statistically significant association between visible mimicry and physiological synchrony. And this is why we did not find the association between visible mimicry and attraction. Instead, this example of one couple really illustrates the association we found in our data. And that is when people synchronize on physiological level, their attraction grows. And this brings me back to different type of emotional expression. While in our field, we have been focusing a lot on visible expressions, our research suggests that these signals, even mimicry of these visible signals, were not good predictors of interpersonal attraction. On the other hand, attraction was predicted by physiological synchrony, which is unconscious and difficult to regulate. And we believe that this might be because physiological synchrony captures more genuine emotional exchange. While people might be smiling and mimicking on superficial level, these expressions are not always reflected in their physiology. But when they are, this is when deeper emotional transfer may happen, which promotes attraction. I like to use a metaphor where you can imagine that people's physiology is like melody oscillating with emotions in parallel to each other. And more couples synchronize, better the melody sounds, and more attracted people become to each other. And with that, I would like to thank all my collaborators, mainly my supervisor Mariska Kret, also Frederica Behrens, Eliska Prochazkova, and Daniel Lind, as well as all other people who help us to collect these data. And also thank you for listening.